All right, we're now going to throw it over to our boy, Sean T. McGuire, as he caught up with PJ Fleck. Check out the interview right here. Head coach of Minnesota.
3-star recruit coming out of high school, so obviously a good player. But his first season, honorable mention in the Big Ten. Then all the way to last season, he's a first teamer. And now now we're talking about a potential first rounder, early second round pick. So obviously, you and your staff took a 3-star high school recruit to a potential first round pick, and just kind of that speaks a lot to the development. So I guess just to kind of narrow down on it, what are some of the big ways that you have seen him develop, and specifically, I guess, kind of on the field?
Well, we'll start on the field. His first game and start was against Nebraska during the COVID year. And here he is as a redshirt freshman, just this big kid, 285 pounds, and now he's 335. But
yeah,
Aireontae, we knew he was so athletic that the way he was going to develop is some people can develop sitting behind somebody and watching, and they have to do that because they're not physically ready. Aireontae was going to have to develop on the field. And we knew that he'd have to take some lumps and he'd have to get beat here and there. But he was so athletic that we knew the strength and the size would catch up. But he was athletically talented enough in his redshirt freshman year to go out there, fail, grow. And he was open to doing that. And he did very well in his first start. And I think he took off from there. This is the ultimate. I think it's one of the most undervalued maybe or underestimated developmental programs in the country. There are 4 teams that have had a first and second round pick over the last 5 years. Aireontae will be hopefully number 6 for us. I think it's Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, and Minnesota. And if I asked all of you which school doesn't fit in those 4, you'd all pick Minnesota. So I think it's just the complete person. We always talk to be a better player, you're going to be a better person. Like, we want people to want to be better people, and you'll make yourself a better player. Coaches and cultures only create the blueprint. The kid's got to build the house. And some people say they want what they say they want, but they really don't want it.
Yeah.
Anybody can say they want something, but can you actually go build the house every single day, put your dream on the shelf and say, every day I'm going to knock down these goals to get to there one day, and stay consistent with that? And Aireontae has always done that. He never missed a practice. Wow. So I'm going to say it again. He never missed a practice.
Yeah.
Not because he didn't want to practice or he was hurt. This guy is durable. He's reliable. He's accountable. He loves football. The guy runs a 5.0 40 at almost a 4.9 at 335 pounds. That's incredible. And to not miss practices and miss games says a lot about Aireontae.
Yeah. And just kind of touching on your point, you talked about him developing on the field for you guys. I think that's certainly something that kind of sticks out to me because, coming from a Patriots perspective, that's probably the situation that he would have to be in. I mean, the Patriots, and I'm not sure how much you know from afar, but they're down a few offensive linemen. Well, I'll say that, at least. And could really use a left tackle who kind of comes in and does exactly what you said, develops on the field. So I think that's a really great point to make. Just kind of,
I'll hit real quick. I want to hit real quick on what you said with the Patriots, because I think I have so much respect for the organization and what they've been able to accomplish over the last decade, 2 decades, what they've been able to do. And with Coach, you look at the 2 guys that have come in at linebacker with Jack Gibbons and Robert Spillane. Jack played for us at Minnesota, and then Robert played for us at Western Michigan University. And they all have that football mentality. Aireontae has the same thing. And if he's going to go in there, you're going to draft somebody in the first round. You expect them to play. Now, maybe not a quarterback at times. Sometimes you're drafting a guy to sit behind somebody, but the first round, that's where the unicorns get drafted. Yeah. And you got 2 guys who weren't unicorns, but have done an unbelievable job in the league when no one thought they would, and 2 backers you brought in as free agents. Well, Aireontae comes into that, and you start to have this similarity of the mindset of football first, and how much they love the game and how much they work towards making themselves great players. And I think every organization and what Coach is doing there is, and you could just already feel his presence of what he's trying to do with that Patriots organization and bring them back to where they were with that mentality of dominant, tough football.
No, I really appreciate you pointing that out. I wasn't aware of that coming into today, so I really do appreciate that. And Vrabel certainly has been upfront in saying, he wants to, bring in culture builders is I think that kind of the term that he's used in a lot of ways. So,
And those guys come from a culture of connectivity. And
yeah,
when you see those two, just yell, row the boat to them, and they'll know what you're talking about.
okay, I like that. And I'm assuming this question kind of touches on some of the stuff you said previously, but just when it comes to Aireontae's strengths, and to kind of ask it more directly, what would you say some of his strengths are now entering the league?
Well, I think playing at the highest level for so many years, he's got experience playing the game. He's pretty much seen every front, every blitz, everything you can possibly throw at him.
Mm-hmm.
We have an NFL run game. We have an NFL pass game. So he's been embedded in that NFL culture. He's so athletic. He can bend. He can play guard. He can play tackle. He's very versatile. He's done that at this level. He can play any position. But he's a great teammate. I think when you're talking about what Vrabel's building in culture, we define culture as connecting people. That's all cultures do. Some cultures aren't very good and connect people in a bad way. Some cultures are really good and connect them in a good way. But culture is just connecting people. And Vrabel's connecting all these football people and these football players and these tough and athletic football-minded people. And Aireontae's built that way. And again, for a guy that I keep going back to that not missing practice in a 4-year career in the Big Ten and as demanding as our practices are, to do that says a lot about how much he loves the game.
Yeah.
He's an unbelievable teammate. And the one thing you're all going to love about him if he happens to go to the Patriots is his personality is off the charts. You're going to love talking to him. Our media couldn't get enough of Aireontae. And he's got a great sense of humor. And he's really going to connect that offensive line room. It's going to be a lot of fun to see what happens with him.
Awesome interview with our boy, Sean McGuire with PJ Fleck. Now Sean joins us. Sean, a little smitten. PJ Fleck, man, he's a good interview. Great soundbite.
Yeah, I didn't cover Minnesota football a ton, didn't watch a ton of Minnesota football games, but I feel like today I'm rowing the boat with him.
There we go.
He really was fantastic to talk to.
No, he's great. Love the points he brought up about Aireontae Ersery. I think there's those nuggets. And what you'll get with these guys, like talking to Bill O'Brien at the pro day, like these guys are going to sell their dudes. And it's very right so. I mean, Aireontae Ersery busted his butt for 5 years at that program, played 37 games the last 3 seasons, starting at tackle for him, never missed a practice, as he pointed out. When he brings up the athleticism, it's not just his massive frame, 6'6", 340.
Yeah.
Long arms, 33 and an 1/8 inch arm, so just beats 33 inch arms, but the wingspan, 81 and 4/8 inch wingspan. 80 plus is what you want for your offensive tackle. That comes with a big frame. Yep. He talks about his 40 being just 501. I mean, I think that was the 10th best 40-yard dash. He had the 10th best 10-yard split. He had the 7th best broad jump amongst all offensive tackles. When you're at 340 pounds and you're doing that, that shows athleticism. That shows his flexibility. What else stuck out to you from that conversation with PJ Fleck? That wasn't all of it. So, by the way, after the show, go check it out on NESN's YouTube page. But what else jumped out to you from your convo with Coach Fleck?
Just to touch on the measurables and things too. His and I want to make sure I phrase this right, but his 40-yard dash was the fastest time of anyone 6'6", 330 pounds or more since 2003. So it was also the 3rd fastest among offensive tackles, behind only Armand Membu and Will Campbell this year. So just to reemphasize your measurables, I mean, he's enormous, but he's athletic. And I think the biggest thing that stuck out to me, and I'm glad we played the clip, was just him talking about the development and how that development came on the field. And he almost kind of said that like unprompted. And, when I heard it, it just took me back, because it's like, this is a very relevant nugget of information when you're looking at it from a Patriots standpoint, because the reality is, if he's drafted, late first, early second round, the Patriots will have to throw him in at left tackle, and he would have to, now he also has 38 games of left tackle experience in the Big Ten. So he's certainly more experienced now than when, PJ Fleck and company got him 5 years ago. But I think that point really kind of sticks out to me, that, he was able to develop on the field, and that's what helped him best. As Coach said, some players are, better. Some players develop better kind of behind the scenes when they're able to, watch and learn and, be behind someone else in front of them. But when it comes to, him, that wasn't the case. And when it comes to Ersery, it wasn't the case. So I think that's like, one of the big things that stuck out to me.
Well, Smizzle, welcome to the Golden Gophers family, because as you know, everything comes back to gambling for me. I've been making money on Minnesota for years when they're at home. In fact, this season, just off top of the dome, they covered for me twice. SC, they play USC, and they covered against Penn State. I don't remember if they won the games. I don't give a damn.
Great teams
covered. That's it. So you need to welcome to the family. You need to hop on that. I want to ask you about Joe Milton, because unfortunately you are a Cowboys fan. However, for today, I think it's helpful because I thought they rushed trading this guy. I thought they should have held on to him, keep developing him. If anything, I would like to see him with a competent offensive coordinator and like grown-ups in the room as coaches in terms of player development, because that's really what Joe Milton is. He's a project. He needs time. Yep. You gotta marinate him. You know what I mean? You gotta let him. Yep. You gotta let him learn everything. And instead, they trade him, which feels like nothing to me. I feel like if they had held on to him and developed him, and we had a bigger sample size of the kid, you could have got more down the line, or you could have decided to hang on to him. Did it feel rushed to you? Give me both angles of this. Give me a Patriots angle, and then give me a Cowboys angle to this move.
Patriots first. I think in a perfect world, would you have liked to keep him? I think the answer is yes. But, you've seen some reports come out that Joe Milton essentially wanted out. And when the Patriots bring in Josh Dobbs, you can't blame Joe Milton for wanting out. So I just think when it comes down to it, they didn't really align. Like the Patriots wanted a veteran, so that's why they went out and got Josh Dobbs. And Joe Milton didn't want to be the third string, so that's why he wanted out. And I understand both sides. Like, and I just the return of it. It's nothing, nothing great. It's pretty much just breaking even. You turn a fifth rounder into, you turn a sixth rounder into a fifth rounder. So that's tough to get like overly excited about. But I also just can't think there's no guarantee that his stock is going to rise and that, all of a sudden the team is going to offer them a higher pick. I did see there was a report that the Patriots did have some offers, better offers. And I think if that's true, I think they did themselves a disservice. I think, you have to go out and you have to get the best offer for him. But kind of just bringing it all around, it didn't really fit. Like Joe Milton, the Patriots wanted a veteran backup. Joe Milton didn't want to be a third stringer, and I think it was even Doug Kye that kind of reported that, people inside the Patriots organization didn't view Joe Milton as an ideal backup because he viewed himself as a starter. So when it comes to that, I can't blame Milton for wanting out, and I can't blame the Patriots for trading him and kind of just getting that done. From a Cowboys standpoint, and again, I've tried to pull back on this in recent years, but it's it's another dart throw. You drop down 46 spots, and you had Joe Milton in the seventh rounder. So I think it's certainly worth that from a Cowboys perspective. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that, but I also don't blame the Patriots for wanting to kind of cut the cord, I guess.
Let me follow up with you from a Cowboys standpoint, because I'm curious. You said it's a sort of a dartboard throw, and I agree, because they did this with Trey Lance, and it didn't work, right? Sometimes you throw against a wall, it doesn't stick.
And that was a fourth-round pick for Trey Lance.
That is a good point, George. So I guess my question
Trey Lance
here
is also a third overall pick.
Yeah.
Well, right, but that's not the Cowboys' problem. But what I'm saying for Joe Milton, do you think it will stick? Do you think it'll work? They clearly want a project. I don't know who the hell's there to develop them, because that coaching staff is a mess there too. But do you think Joe Milton will work, or will this be another Trey Lance scenario?
So, Travis, you think the coaching staff is a little shoddy? Is that fair to say?
I see what you did there. Right. I caught that.
Sorry, what was your question? I was so busy trying to come up with a joke.
Do you think Joe Milton will suck with the Cowboys, or will he be good?
I think for the Cowboys, they hope he doesn't see the field. But I do think, for Joe Milton, the report that came out is that he wanted the Cowboys. He was kind of interested in the Cowboys. And I think that makes a lot of sense because, the reality is Dak has missed, pretty significant time over these last 2, 3, 4 years. So I think you kind of get into it. And, you think, hey, I'm going to go to this situation. They got some playmakers. They got an offensive-minded head coach. Obviously, if Joe Milton is taking the field, a lot of it is going to be in prime time, whether that's deserved or not. I'll argue it's not deserved. But I could see why he wants to be there. I just don't know if it's going to really come to fruition in the sense of like he's going to take over for Dak Prescott. I can't see that happening.
If you're enjoying the show, from interviews with PJ Fleck to talk about Joe Milton, Drake May, 4th overall pick, all of this, make sure to check out new episodes of Foxborough Rush, dropping every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, wherever you get your podcasts. If you got a backup that keeps things afloat, keeps the car on the road, the train on the tracks, if Dak goes down, I guess it's not the worst business of that all. Want to end real quick, and we'll keep you on for the mailbag, Sean. I want to keep you on, man. Let's keep the good vibes rolling. But going back to the Fleck convo real quick, he brought up the Jack Gibbons, which I loved, out of Western Michigan. Forget Coach Fleck, PJ Fleck, coached at Western Michigan before he got to Minnesota. Been there for quite some time. But when he was talking about Aireontae Ersery and maybe some other convos you had with him, what did he teach you? What did you learn from him with the convo? You talked about development. We talked about him not missing practice. But what's something where an Aireontae Ersery, who's best fitted in a play-action type system, really big frame, good athlete, and a 3-year starter at left tackle. So he has a lot of football experience there. But what was something new that, he said that jumped out to you about, all right, this changes how I view Ersery as a potential pick for the Patriots?
Well, I think one thing I learned is that him as a prospect, they nicknamed him Old Blue Shorts because the first time they saw him was at a camp in St. Louis, and Aireontae was wearing tight blue shorts, I guess, and they picked him out of a crowd of 1,000 kids. No, but I think to your point, like, I think the coach feels, and I'm glad you brought this up earlier too. You said how like the coaches are going to sell their dudes, and I think that's really important to note because I've published a few of these features over the last few weeks, and I go in the comments or on Twitter or something, and all I see is people being like, of course the coach is going to praise their player. What else is he going to say? And I get that, and I think that makes sense. But it's also you either believe it or you don't, and I'm going to choose to believe the coach. So in this case, talking with PJ, I think he really stressed that he thinks, Aireontae is going to be a legitimate left tackle with, room to grow, and that he views him, with his size and with his strength and his length, he views him as a left tackle and not, a right tackle and not a guard. And I think some of those conversations have been some of those conversations have been had certainly around Aireontae, but also around, Will Campbell and, his arm length, obviously. And then you talk about Armand Membu and whether he can move from the right to the left. So those conversations just happen during the pre-draft process. It is what it is. But in kind of talking with Coach Fleck, it's very clear that he believes that Ersery will be, a strong left tackle and a left tackle that would fit what Mike Vrabel is looking for. I think the fact that he brought up, the Robert Spillane and Jack Gibbons, that was unprompted too. I'll admit, I didn't go into this interview thinking about where Jack Gibbons played his college football, but just to bring that up and talk about how, these guys fit what Mike Vrabel is looking for, and that's why he signed them in free agency. And this draft prospect has all the same characteristics, has all the same intangibles. I just think that was really, really insightful info and really helpful to know.
Yeah, great convo with him. Make sure to check out the full conversation